G'day folks, Parkera here and welcome to the injury update for week 6 of the NFL here on the Sportscast. So starting out with Arizona, so far listed out is their wide receiver Zay Jones for non-injury other related issues. Darius Robinson, defensive tackle, he's out with a calf injury. Questionable, we've got Calvin Beecham, the tackle there with a hamstring injury. Christian Jones, the tackle with an ankle injury. Matt Prater, kicker, with a left knee injury, and Garrett Williams, cornerback, listed there for a groin injury. They are questionable going into their game against Green Bay. With Atlanta, Troy Anderson, linebacker, out with a knee injury. Listed as questionable so far is Nate Landman, a calf or quad, is expected to be activated from injury reserve for Sunday's game though, so he could well make an appearance. For Baltimore there, the Ravens, Malik Harrison, the linebacker, is out with a groin injury. Arthur Millay, the cornerback, he's out with a knee or hamstring. And Broderick Washington, defensive end, he's listed as out with a knee. Questionable, Rasheem Ali, the running back from a neck, has been activated from the injury reserve. Malacia Amoleve Lalu, the guard, back injury. Deontay Harty, the wide receiver, from a knee. Marlon Humphrey, cornerback, ankle, and Ronnie Stanley, tackle, with a toe injury, are listed as questionable. Into Buffalo now, listed as out. Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle, with a hamstring, questionable. Khalil Shakar, wide receiver, is out for ankle. James Cook, the running back, with toe. Alston Johnson, defensive tackle, oblique. And Teron Johnson, cornerback, forearm. After Carolina now, the Panthers listed as out this week. Austin Corbett, the center for bicep, he's been placed on the IR. Dane Jackson, the cornerback, he's been downgraded to out for Sunday's game against Atlanta. Josie Kuhl, linebacker, hamstring groin injury. Taylor Moton, the tackle, with an elbow. Andrew Rain, the center, with a concussion. Tommy Tremble, the tight end, also listed with concussion. Questionable, we've got Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver, there with an ankle. Sean Robinson, the defensive end, has an ankle. And Ian Thomas, the tight end, with a calf. Listed as doubtful is Jadeveon Clowney, the linebacker, with a shoulder injury. Now to the Chicago Bears, listed as out is Jake Martin, the defensive lineman, with a toe. He's been ruled out with versus the Jags as of the late October the 12th update. Joaquin Brisker, the safety, with concussion. Zach Pickens with a groin, and Terrell Smith with a hip injury. Questionable, Tevon Jenkins, the tackle there, with an ankle injury, and doubtful Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback, with a calf injury. Down to Cincinnati now have got nobody listed at this stage as out. But questionable, we've got Chase Brown, the running back, for a quad injury, and Mike Hilton with a knee injury there. And doubtful is DJ Ivy, the cornerback, with a knee injury. Now with Cleveland, out with Cleveland, and is reported by Daniel Uyafusi there on Twitter, which I'll bring up on the screen now. The Browns running back Nick Chubb is expected to make his season debut when Cleveland hosts the Bengals in week 7. It's up there. So he is listed as out, but is expected to play against the Bengals in week 7. Grant Delpit, the safety, he's out with concussion. Ronnie Hickman Jr., safety, with an ankle injury. Naheem Hines, knee. James Hudson, shoulder, and he's been placed on IR. And Ethan Pockett with a knee. Questionable so far is Jordan Hicks with an elbow, a triceps injury. Maurice Hurst, ankle. And Mohamed Diabate with a hip injury. Denville Ward with a hamstring there. Dallas, the Cowboys have listed as out Eric Kendricks, their linebacker, calf and shoulder injury, and Micah Parsons is still out with an ankle injury there. Questionable, they've listed Daron Bland with a foot, Colleen Carson, shoulder, and Nick Virgil, their linebacker, also with a foot injury there. Down to over to Colorado, listed as out is Alex Palczewski. He's out with an ankle injury. Josh Reynolds, the receiver, is out with a hand injury. Luke Wattenberry is out with an ankle injury. Listed as questionable. Audric Estime, ankle, and Damari Mathis with an ankle injury as well. Detroit going to their game pretty good here with only one player listed as out at this stage, which is Christian Mahogany with a illness. Over to Green Bay here, go Pat go. We've got Devontae Watt. He was just listed as out with an ankle injury. Listed as questionable by the Packers. We've got the wide receiver Christian Watson with an ankle injury. Rashid Walker, Aaron Mosby, Jordan Morgan and Jair Alexander all listed as questionable. Hopefully we'll see those guys on game day against the Cardinals. Down in Houston, Kamari Lisita has been ruled out with a shoulder injury. Jamie Ward with groin, and Robert Woods, the wide receiver, there with a foot injury. Listed as questionable is Kurt Hinish with calf. He's been downgraded to out though for Sunday's game versus New England. So that's the new update there. And Derek Barnett, the defensive end, with a shoulder injury, and Joe Mixon, the running back, with an ankle injury. Now the Colts, well, they've listed Jonathan Taylor as out so far, but there has been a few updates with some of the names here, which we'll go over first. So listed as questionable also is John Downs, the receiver, with a toe injury, Kenny Moore, the hip, shoulder, Michael Pittman, a back injury, and of course Anthony Richardson, the quarterback, there with an oblique, and Braden Smith, knee and ankle injury. However, according to the latest there on Twitter from Stephen Holden, looks like Michael Pittman Jr. has made the trip to Nashville, and odds are of him playing seem good. Also, wide receiver Josh Downs is expected to play after missing 2 practices this week, with quarterback Anthony Richardson also expected back. Things are looking a bit better for the Colts. So that's the update there on Twitter as well this afternoon, 4:30 New Zealand Standard Time, about 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's some of the updates for the Colts at least. So they're looking a bit better now. Over to Jacksonville now. Listed as out is Tyson Campbell with a hamstring, questionable. Yashir Abdullah with a neck injury. Gabe Davis, their wide receiver, with a knee injury. Evan Ingram, hamstring. And Daniel Thomas, also hamstring. Las Vegas, the Raiders, listed as out is also Devontae Adams with his hamstring injury, and Michael Myers, a tight end, there for personal reasons. Listed as questionable, we've got Trey Taylor with a knee. He's been activated off the IR. Tommy Eichenberg, hamstring. Thayer Munford Jr., knee or ankle injury. Jackson Powers Johnson, the knee, and Zamir White, also groin, and currently doubtful Jacoby Myers, the wide receiver, for an ankle. And that was listed by the Adam Schefter, the update there for Jacoby Myers, who suffered the ankle injury in last week's loss to the Broncos. He's been downgraded to doubtful Saturday afternoon. He had originally been listed as questionable, and that's on the screen there for you to have a look at. We go to LA now. We're over to the Chargers. Listed as out as Gus Edwards with an ankle injury. He's been placed on the injury reserve list. Ashante Adams, the cornerback there, shoulder. He's also been placed in IR. And Jasir Taylor, fibula injury. Listed as questionable, we've got Joey Bosa with a hip, Christian Fulton with a knee, Dean Leonard, hamstring, Nick Nyman, activated from IR, and Rasheem Slater over pectoral injury. Over to New England, listed for out is Ramonde Stevenson with a foot injury. They've got a few listed as questionables. They've got Sione Takatiki. He's been activated from IR. Isaiah Bolden, hamstring. Kendrick Bourne, knee. Joe Cardona with a calf. Kyle Duggar is out with an ankle injury. Unferne Jennings, shoulder. Marcus Jones, groin. Nick Leverett with an ankle injury. KJ Osborne, wide receiver, with shoulder. Ladon Robinson, ankle, wrist. And Marco Wilson, the centre back, the cornerback, with a groin injury there. New Orleans, we're going down to Saints now here. We've got Derek Carr. He's out with an oblique injury. Will Harris, hamstring. He's been placed in IR. Tyson Hill, rib. Cesar Ruiz, knee. And Pete Werner, hamstring, listed as questionable. Kendre Miller with a hamstring. He's been activated from IR. And Lucas Patrick, chest. And Peyton Turner, knee there, listed as questionable. Over to New York and the Giants, listed as out as a Malik Neighbours with a concussion. Devin Singletary, the running back with a groin, he's been downgraded to out for Sunday's game versus the Bengals. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, shoulder, he's also been downgraded to out. And the latest news, of course, late this afternoon was Kayvon Thibodeau with a wrist injury. He's been placed on IR. And Jamie Gillen, left hamstring, also downgraded to out. So far, there's nothing else apart from those listed. New York Jets, Michael Carter III has been listed as out. He's been ruled out with a back injury. And Aaron Rodgers was holding a bit of an ankle issue, but he's definitely been listed as ready to rock and roll for the game against the Bills. And listed as questionable is Tyler Conklin with a hip injury and CJ Mosley with a toe. No news at this stage out of Philadelphia, so they're pretty much one of the only two teams coming through into this round fit as a fiddle, so we could expect a good performance for them. However, in Pittsburgh, listed as out, we've got DeMarvin Neal with neck injury, he's been placed in IR. Nick Herbig, hamstring. Alex Highsmith, groin. Diamante Kazir, ankle. Cordarrelle Patterson, also ankle. Listed as questionable, they've got Jalen Warren, knee. Now he's been upgraded to questionable and should be ready for the game on Sunday against the Raiders though. San Francisco, now just some post-Thursday night football updates. Jordan Mason, the running back, he's out with a shoulder AC joint. He's questionable for week 7, so probably week to week at this stage. And Matthew Wright, the kicker, hurt his shoulder in that attempted tackle later on in the game. He's also questionable for week 7 against Kansas City. Tampa Bay, we've got listed here as out Graham Barton with a hamstring, Ernest Brown the fourth, ribs, Christian Eisen, elbow, groin, Cameron Johnson, ankle, Try Palmer, concussion. Listed as questionable, we've got Luke Godeke with a concussion, Kalajay Kansey, calf, Jalen McMillan, hamstring, Jordan Whitehead, groin, Antone Winfield with a foot injury, and listed as doubtful, Rashid White with a foot injury. Down over to Tennessee, listed as out is Jamal Adams, their safety. He's been placed on reserve non-football injury list, and Keandre Coburn, the defensive tackle, for a knee, and Cedric Gray, the linebacker, with a shoulder injury. Over to Washington here, listed as out at the moment is Brian Robinson with a knee. He's been downgraded out for Sunday's game against the Ravens. And Jordan McGee, the linebacker, he's out with a knee injury, and he's also been downgraded to out. And Tyler Owens out with shin injury at this stage. Now, questionable, we've got Efa Obada with a tibia fibula injury there. So all the updates are courtesy of NFL.com and some late tweets which we have seen put there on the screen for you. And all these updates have been as of 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which would be your Saturday, 4:30 p.m. my New Zealand Standard Time here on a Sunday afternoon. So yes, so that's the update so far. Obviously there will be likely some slight changes to those and maybe some clarifications for anyone listed here or other ones on game day itself in a few hours. So just keep an eye on that, and I'm sure you will with your own teams. But that, folks, is the injury list for week 6 heading into the weekend's games. Feel free to comment down below and let me know. Apologies for any mispronunciations of the names as well. Thank you for joining me. I am Pakira of the Sportscast here from little old New Zealand. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Kia kaha.